Nitya Bala Subramaniam, Director India, Healthcare Division. She's with the Stanford Bernstein. She joins us now to take this conversation forward. So good to have you back, Nitya, on show. I can see you're working from home. Office has not started yet.
It has, but sometimes we work from home.
Okay, good. Good to connect with you. Uh, I'll start with very basic questions. When COVID hit us, all of us thought that India's IT movement in pharma had arrived. We had everything working, going our way. We had the bulk drugs, we had the vaccines, we had the capacity, and we had the goodwill. But suddenly, everything is now tumbling down. It's like Humpty Dumpty, which has fallen from top of a hill.
I think there are some three or four reasons why the sector's seen the correction that it has. One is, of course, I think we had a very high base in FY22. I think a lot of companies, including Cipla, Alchem, Dr. Reddy's, and my coverage universe, benefited quite a bit from selling COVID therapeutics as well as other parts of the portfolio which benefited because of COVID. So therefore, on that high base, we are now looking at when looking at FY23, it seems like optically the growth is going to look subdued, right? It's very difficult for the market as a whole and specific companies that I mentioned to post meaningful growth on that base. So that is one. So India, which has always been the bedrock of these companies, the growth is actually going to look subdued because of the high base. The second is, of course, the RM and logistic cost increase. I think if you go back and look at the commentary last quarter, I think pretty much everybody guided to anywhere between 50 to 170 bips impact on the gross margins, which is quite significant, right? And I think if you look at the numbers, consensus numbers after the last result season, across the board, they were earning downgrades. Right? So that's another reason why these stocks are performing the way they are. And I think the last one is FDA inspectors are on the ground. They've been on the ground since I think March, April this year. We do keep hearing news flow in terms of different facilities being inspected, 483s, companies not being able to lift the OAI or the warning letter status. And obviously, the market is anticipating more news flow because of FDA inspections continuing throughout the year, because there's a huge backlog and they really need to catch up. Right? These are broadly all the reasons why the sector is, I think, not performing well in the recent past. But a lot of this, I think, will be short-lived. Right? Happy to talk more about how our views differ from where the market is today.
Let's do that. Let's differentiate, if I may say so, wheat from the chaff or men from the boys. As we look into the future, which are the companies and businesses which you think will normalize, and which are the companies which are on the cusp of recovery?
See, I think looking at FY23 India growth is obviously just looking narrowly at FY23 numbers is obviously not the right thing to do, because I think the fundamentals still remain quite healthy when it comes to the India domestic pharma market. I do believe that if you're willing to look beyond FY23, FY24, 25, 26, you will see a return back to 11-12% kind of growth. And I think there are already green shoots, right? So large companies and several of these large companies are now investing in India in terms of adding manpower on the ground. So people are now going to try and expand the market itself and chase volume growth, right? So Sun Pharma announced that they're going to add another 10%, and they'd already added 600 a couple of years ago. Alchem's adding people. I think the number of Indian domestic pharma companies adding people on the ground or investing in India broadly has for sure definitely gone up in the last year. And therefore, I do see FY24, 25, 26 as healthy growth years. So I wouldn't focus too much about just optically what the growth number is going to look like in FY23. Of course, it's going to look subdued. And mostly it's in the numbers. So amongst companies that I do cover, I think Sun Pharma, given the investment that they're doing and the market leadership that they have, I think they're going to do well in India. Cipla as well, because they now have a much better diabetes cardio portfolio. Respiratory, of course, always continues to support. And beyond that, the trade generics division and consumer health portfolio as well, we believe, will drive a lot of growth. Some of the other factors I'd mentioned, the RM cost, I think they will soften towards the second half of the year. We have been tracking the export data from China, and you'll actually be interested to know that your prices are actually coming off the peak and coming back to pre-COVID levels. So companies typically hold about 6 months worth of inventory, which means that once they exhaust this high priced inventory, the second half of the year, your gross margins will actually look much better, which I don't think is in the numbers today. And US SLC, I think US is a tough market, will remain a tough market. We don't see secular growth. And we've always maintained that it's actually a handful of companies which probably have some interesting complex generics in the portfolio which will do well. Otherwise, we don't see companies outperforming in the US. Not in the near term, not in the long term.
I'm going to jog my memory and perhaps test my memory. Do you have a coverage on Natco? That's what I remember.
No, I don't.
Okay, this time I'm getting it wrong. Normally I take a lot of pride in my memory, but this time I'm getting it wrong. Let's understand Cipla. What is so unique about Cipla? Do you like the domestic business? Do you like the export business? The US market for Cipla is not very large. Umang's been trying to create a niche there, but frankly, it's not even $1 billion market for them.
No, which I think is actually a fabulous thing in the US market, right? Unfortunately, the US market is one where scale is not really a good thing. The larger you are, more your base erodes, and the more the amount of price erosion that you need to worry about, right? And therefore, you need more number of launches to cover up the base erosion and grow on top of that. So Cipla, therefore, compared to peers, is a much smaller base in the US, and therefore growth will be relatively easier. And beyond the fact that they have a smaller base, I think they do have some very interesting material products, both in respiratory generics as well as some complex injectables, which are likely to come through in FY23 and 24. And these, we think, really augur well for double-digit growth for them in the US and also significant margin improvement for them in the US. Some products which are anticipating in the near term, second half of FY23, they're anticipating a generic Advair and a generic Abraxane, one respiratory product and one injectable, both of which can actually be material. And when I say material, I'm talking about $50-60 million minimum annualized sales that they could realize from these products, and also very high gross margin products. Right? So that is one reason we like Cipla. We think they have several material assets, at least in the next 3-4 years, which will come through one after the other supporting growth. But in addition, we also believe that the respiratory inhaler pipeline is a bit more special than even other complex generics, right? So we think these actually have a very long tail, which is unique about respiratory products. And therefore, we think this part of the business should actually be given a premium multiple over even other complex generic portfolio. So that's one reason. And the second is, of course, when it comes to the domestic portfolio, I think, FY21 and 22, the numbers were obviously masked by a lot of the COVID sales that they were able to achieve. Kudos to them. But even pre-COVID, about 4 or 5 quarters pre-COVID, they already started outperforming the market. And now when I look at, let's say, the next 3 or 4 years, I think there are 3 factors which are likely to drive growth. One is the fact that compared to pre-COVID, they now have a much fuller and a comprehensive diabetes portfolio, which always also has a second order impact on cardio. They are one of the few companies which has both the oral portfolio as well as insulins for diabetes, right? So I think that will drive growth. The second is trade generics. They've traditionally been a market leader. And I do believe in the next 3-4 years, trade generics will continue to grow faster than the market. So given that they're a market leader with established equity in the system, distribution muscle, I do believe Cipla will grow faster because of trade generics. And the last one is they now started increasingly allocating capital to the consumer OTC/wellness portfolio. They now have enough brands which are mature, enough brands which are 100 crores or more. And given their increasing investments, we see this part of the business as increasing in relevance over a period of time. And this is a B2C business, right? So therefore, branded business, more resilient revenue stream, and incremental profitability will obviously be higher than their current base business. So these are all the reasons why we believe both in US as well as India, of course, excluding FY23, we believe Cipla will be able to outperform their peers as well as the market.